Hi, friend. Welcome back to Permission to Elevate. Thank you for being here. I have a message that I think is really important to share, especially for those of us who are in deep in the world of personal development. Those of us who read books around how to become the best versions of ourselves, who listen to podcasts, sign up for online coaching courses, like those of us who have coaches, who are coaches. You know who you are if this is directed at you. Like if you are a person who I look at myself, I'm totally consumed in the personal development world. I don't even read books for pleasure. I mostly do audiobooks, but I don't do books for pleasure. I don't read science fiction. I don't read about fantasy or romance or mystery or murder mysteries, things that I have friends who are totally interested in normal topics like all of these. None of that interests me. Every single thing that I do in my spare time is to learn more about personal development and all the aspects of that, right? Whether it's getting to know ourselves better through human design and gene keys, whether it's psychology, whether it's healing, inner child wounds, all of the things. I am totally consumed with all of that at all times. So if you are a person who works on this stuff as well on a regular basis, this message is for you, because those of us who are very involved in this world often get frustrated because we feel like we should be at a certain place by now, right? I'm using air quotes for those of you who are not watching this on video. Just so you know, this is on YouTube, so you always can watch it on video. The link for that is in the description, by the way. But we feel like in general that we're supposed to reach this pinnacle of being healed or being fixed, or we feel like we're not supposed to have negative emotions anymore. We're not supposed to have hard days anymore. We're not supposed to have those dips where we just want to crawl under a blanket and hide our head or eat or drink our problems, or we feel like at some point that we should have surpassed all of that and that we should be beyond all of that by now. And that, we thought we healed this trauma and that trauma. So why is it still coming back? There's very much a sense of frustration sometimes for people when they've done coaching program after coaching program after program after program after program, and they feel like they're weary about starting a new program because they paid a lot of money for those other programs. And for some reason, when they did that, they went into it thinking that this was going to be the program. This was going to be the thing that was going to fix them, right? This was going to be the thing that they needed, that last missing puzzle piece that they have been waiting for, that was going to change everything for them, that was going to take away all their limiting beliefs, that was going to, just completely set them up for skyrocketing their business to success, that was going to make it so they wouldn't have any more relationship problems, any more health problems. They would no longer eat or drink or smoke away their feelings. It's ridiculous when we really stop and think about it. But it's the way that a lot of people enter hiring a coach, coming into a coaching program, whatever. A lot of people enter thinking this is going to be the thing I need. And then after this, I won't need anything else. But what I want to invite us to do instead is look at our personal development, our personal growth as we do our bodies in terms of our health. How ridiculous does it sound if I were to say, once I do this 3-month program with a personal trainer, I'm never going to need to work out again. I'm never going to need to eat healthy again. I will have lost the weight that I wanted to lose. I will have achieved the body that I wanted to achieve, and I won't have to do anything else for the rest of my life. How ridiculous does that sound? we know that with our physical health, it's going to be a lifelong process. We know that that can look different at different times in our lives. We know that at one moment that might look like kickboxing and salads. At another moment that might look like, the paleo diet and yoga. At another moment, it might look like just taking a lot of long walks, or now everybody's into pickleball. Like we're okay with the fact that that health journey can look different over a lifespan, right? We know that we're probably not going to be doing kickboxing when we're 90 years old. We know that when we're 90, it's probably just going to be going out for a walk if we still can, if we're lucky enough to still be able to, if we're lucky enough to still be around. But like we're okay with that journey changing over time. We know that if we're wanting to be focused on our health, if we want to live a healthy life, if we want to continually be healthier and healthier in order to live a longer life, that we're going to have to keep making efforts. And in fact, as we age, we're going to have to keep making more and more and more efforts. Like we've just accepted that with our physical health, but with our mental health, for some reason we have these expectations like we're just supposed to magically be good at some point. Like we're just supposed to be good. And we're just supposed to have reached that mountaintop of greatness, of being all healed, of feeling great, of never being in a bad mood again. And it's so ridiculous. I don't mean to make you feel ridiculous if you have felt this way. I have felt this way myself. And I think that it's very normal to feel this way because the industry and coaches and books and podcasts and all of the things sort of make money on selling us the fact that like, this is the last thing you will need. This is the thing that you need. This is the missing piece. It's sort of a way that people sell things to us. So it's no wonder we feel that would be the case, but it's just not. It's just not the case. This is a lifelong process. So I invite you to be cool with that. Like really, if you have already, jumped into this world of personal development, it's very likely that you're going to stick with it for a very long time, maybe forever, in some way, shape, or form, right? Kind of like your physical health. If you're already conscious of your health, if you're already trying to make healthy decisions in your life, it's very unlikely that one day you're just going to switch it all around and like eat a dozen donuts every day and just like throw your health out the window. It's probably not going to happen. So same with personal development, right? It's probably going to be in your life for a long time. And so if that's the case, like let's learn how to let it be okay that it's a process. And let's learn how to acknowledge ourselves along the way for the progress that we have made. Because here's the other thing that happens is when we feel like we haven't reached that peak of awesomeness, when we feel like we haven't reached perfection yet, which is what we're all aiming for and we all secretly think that we can get to, when we haven't reached that yet, we feel like there's something wrong with us or that we're doing something wrong or that nothing's working, right? We start telling ourselves these stories that these things aren't working for me. Oh, that thing that you did, maybe that worked for you. That coaching program might have worked for you, but it didn't work for me. So there must be something wrong with me. Or, I tried that and I didn't have that same experience as my friend had. And so it must not work for me. We make these decisions and we have these limiting beliefs after a certain amount of time of going into each thing that we do with the expectation that it's going to fix us. When we come out of it and we realize that we're still a human and we still have problems, we tell ourselves that means there's something wrong with us. Because we tell ourselves stories around the fact that it did work for other people. And those other people seem to be doing really well. And those other people seem to be healed and they seem to be good. So let's talk about how we can normalize the fact that growing mentally, emotionally, changing our biochemistry, changing the way that we feel every day when we wake up in the morning, changing the way that we feel in our bodies, changing the way that we manage emotions and we heal limiting beliefs. Like, this is really big stuff. This is really big work that humans are still learning how to do. This hasn't been around forever. So let's start to normalize the fact that it's a process. Let's start to normalize the fact that it's gonna be forever, which is actually really exciting and really fun. And why would we want it to end at some point? Then what would we do with all of our time and all of our Audible credits? And let's start to look for ways that we can give ourselves credit for the progress that we have made, because we have made progress no matter where we are on the spectrum. We have definitely made progress, and we get to definitely give ourselves credit for that. So let's start with number one, which is rationalizing and normalizing the fact that this is going to be a process that we're going to be in for the long haul. I actually don't have much to say about that other than the fact that, like, we just need to get that. We need to get it, and we need to be excited about it. It doesn't need to be this thing that we dread and this thing that we're like annoyed by and this thing that we're like, oh, I wish it would be over already. Like, how cool is it to work with a new coach every few months or every year or every few years or whatever that looks like for you? How cool is it to gain those different tools from those different people, to be in the energy of people who also do this work? How cool is it to think, like, what else is there out there? Maybe it's a mastermind where I can be with a group of people, or a group coaching program. Maybe it's a one-on-one where I like really invest in myself and in my worth, and I work with this really high-end coach because I have this specific goal in some area of my life. Like, let's change our mindsets around it so that it's actually cool and it's actually fun and it's something that we get to continue to do. Because the alternative to that is having the mindset that when you start something new, that it's going to be the last thing you need. And the reality is that when you finish it, even if you stay on cloud 9 for a little while, there's going to come a point where you have a bad day again. And then you're disappointed. And then maybe you find yourself in blame, like the coach didn't do their job, or you find yourself in self-blame and self-beat up, like you're not worthy or you didn't do it right, or you're never going to be fixed, you're never going to be healed, you're never going to be patched up. It's like we're broken or something. So that's a choice we get to make. Like that first part of this conversation, there's not much more to say. It's just a choice that we get to make. I don't know about you, but I like the option that I'm excited about doing personal development for the rest of my life. Another thing that I touched on, but I want to touch on a little bit more, is how big and important this work really is. Like, we just found out recently, scientists just discovered recently that our brains are even capable of making any sort of changes after the age of like 30 or 35. Previously, they thought that once our brains were fully developed, they just were the way that they were, and there was no changing them. Like, what a huge freaking discovery that they discovered neuroplasticity, that our brains actually have the ability to change, that we have the ability to rewire our brains, that we have the ability to reform memories the way that they were originally formed. We can form them into something else, that we have the ability to tell a different story in our mind every single day that literally makes us feel more positive and brings us to a higher vibration every single day. Like, we didn't even know that we were capable of that until very recently. And so this is something else that you can remind yourself of as you feel maybe frustrated with not being further along in your personal development journey, in your healing, or in your growth journey. Remind yourself that this is like massive, mind-blowing work that we're doing here. If you've been around for a while, you've likely heard me talk about the fact that like everything boils down to a feeling. Every single thing that we do in our lives, everything that we desire, everything that we want, everything in life boils down to a desired feeling that we want to have. So like literally everything that we buy, everything that we do, where we live, what kind of car we drive, the kind of partner we choose, the lifestyle we choose to live, like all of it is based on how we feel and how we want to feel. So like we get to give ourselves a lot of credit around the fact that if we're actually consciously trying to create the way that we feel on a daily basis, that's really big work. It's really big stuff. And along the same lines of giving ourselves credit, like we really, really get to figure out processes to acknowledge how far we've come. And I'll share with you some of my favorite processes, but I would love to hear in the comments, whether you're watching this on YouTube, on Spotify, whether you're seeing a clip of this on social media, whatever it may be, I would love to hear from you. Like, what are your tips and tricks for acknowledging your progress, for noticing how far you've come, for not getting discouraged in the process along the way? One thing that I really like to do, that I've liked to do in the past, that I'm not doing a ton of right now because, to be honest, well, I'll tell you what it is first. It's journaling. I used to be really into journaling, and rather recently I discovered that I was actually spending more time in my negative feelings as I was journaling than I was coming out of my negative feelings. Like, I would use my journal as a way to sort of wallow. I would use it as a way to document all of the things that I was feeling, all of the things that were wrong. I would also use it for positive things and for scripting out what I wanted my life to look like, and for writing down affirmations and all sorts of positive things as well. But what I found was I would go to my journal when I wasn't feeling great. It wasn't necessarily something that I had discipline around that I would do every single day. It was, I would go there when I wasn't feeling great. And so what it ended up being was just a record of all of the times when I didn't feel great. And on one hand, that's been really beneficial to look back on, because I'm able to see what my negative feelings were then. And I'm able to look at, wow, like I don't have all of those same negative feelings now than I used to. And so that's a really great way to look at your process. If you're somebody who can be really consistent with journaling and you write down, when you have good days and when you have bad days, you're consistent about your journaling, then that's an even better record for you to look back at and say, wow, I've come a long way. Because you can actually see your progress, like your hills and your valleys, in terms of how long you stayed down versus how long you stayed up. And this is what I really want to talk to you about as being a really important part of my process. I look at progress as how big is the gap from good moment to good moment. I used to spend a lot of time, like I'm talking months, in negative emotions. Like when I was in a funk or when I was feeling stuck or whatever, I would literally spend months there. And when I say months there, I mean in a place of like not doing anything productive, not taking care of myself, not feeling good about myself, not thinking positive thoughts around how I can improve the way I feel, literally just wallowing in, I'm in a bad place right now. I'm in a bad emotional space. I'm in a funk. And that's just where I'm at right now. Now, my funks look very different. They look very, very different. And for me, this is a huge win and something that I really get to give myself credit for. Doesn't mean that I don't still have them. I do. I still get in moments of feeling really down. And sometimes it's for a longer period of time. But the difference is, within that longer period of time, there are a lot more good days sprinkled in. There's a lot of productivity that's still going on behind the scenes. There's a recognition of, okay, even if I'm in a funk and even if I'm feeling bad and even if I'm not looking, feeling, acting my best, it doesn't mean that I can't take steps towards becoming the person who I actually want to become. It doesn't mean that I'm going to stop doing the work. It doesn't mean that I'm going to stop, working on my relationship, working on being a present mom, working on feeling better every single day, and working on continuing to do the things, particularly in my business, as an example, even when I'm not feeling like it. So for me, there's been a night and day difference in how I used to treat my business. It was a different business back then, but so that had something to do with it as well. But I used to just completely give up on my business. Like I would just it would take a back seat to my emotions. Now, there's not a day that goes by that I'm not working in my business in some way, shape, or form. The weekends, I give myself the weekends off. Unlike a lot of you Americans out there, I do give myself the weekends off most of the time. But even then, I'm thinking about my business. I'm pondering about my business. I'm sometimes really desiring to work in my business and holding myself back from doing so. But during the week, I'm constantly making progress in my business, even if it doesn't feel good, even if I don't feel like I'm totally on top of my game, even if I don't feel like the best version of me, I'm still making progress. I'm still putting in the effort. I'm still taking baby steps towards my goals every single day, regardless of how I feel, whereas I didn't before. So that is a huge measure of progress. That's a huge measure of how far I have come in being able to manage my emotions instead of letting my emotions manage me. So that's something I get to give myself credit for, and you do too. So again, what I really like to look at is that gap of time. Was a funk for me previously a month, and then it turned into a week, and now am I able to recover in a couple of days? And are there moments where I'm literally able to recover in the same day? Yeah, a lot of moments. And that feels really good. And I know that my goal is to continually close that gap. Like, I will know that I'm glad that I'm actually recording this and putting this out into the world, because it's going to be interesting to look back on. I will know that I have made great progress when I don't even let a full day go by before coming out of my funk, before completely readjusting and saying, you know what? Nope, I'm not going to waste an entire day on this. And I do have those days. I do have those moments where I have a great beginning of the day, a shitty middle, and I turn it around at the end. And that's huge. Because previously I would have let the shitty middle drag on for the rest of the day, at least, if not into the next day and the next day and the next day. So look at that for yourself. Where are you closing that gap of time that you're spending wallowing? And let that be your measurement of whether you're creating success, of whether your programs that you're enrolling in are quote unquote working, of whether all of the work that you are doing is working, because it is. It is working. And there's signs of it all around you. You just have to look for those signs. You have to be aware of those signs. You have to seek out those signs of evidence that it is working, rather than looking for all of the evidence about why it's not. Looking for all of the evidence about why you should be somewhere that you're not yet. Whatever we look for is what we're going to find. So look for all of the ways that all of your efforts are working. Look for the evidence of how you are in situations. How much are you reacting versus responding? We constantly want to be shifting more into simply responding rather than reacting. And so how is all of the work that you're doing on yourself contributing to your reactions versus your responses? In arguments with partners, in traffic jams, in conversations with your boss. Like, I guarantee you that if you're in this work, your conversations with your coworkers, with your partner, with the important players in your life don't look the same today as they did 5 years ago, or however long ago you want to look at. So give yourself credit for that, because it's important that you've made that progress. It's important to the people in your life. It's important to the people who look up to you. If you are a parent, you are an influencer. You are influencing someone's life every single day. And as you make these small steps and small tweaks in your life, they're being noticed. So start to notice them yourself and start to give yourself a whole hell of a lot more credit for coming as far as you have. Thanks for listening, friends. Talk soon.
Hey, thanks again for listening to this episode of Permission to Elevate. This is not the only free resource I have for you. Head over to kellyjennifer.com for more, and make sure to follow me at IamKellyJennifer on Instagram too. In the meantime, I'll just be over here cheering you on. Talk soon.